Hi, good afternoon. John Gaunt podcast, John Gaunt live show. If you want to join in, feel free if you're watching live, if you're on X, Twitter, Facebook, or indeed on YouTube. So, Mr. Starmer, a message for you. A message for you, Rudy. Knives don't kill. People kill. People. I know I sound a bit like, was it Goldie Looking Chain or whatever they were called with their song, Guns Don't Kill, or Rappers Do. But I mean it. Think about it for a moment. Anybody can have a knife. It's how you use the knife. You can use the knife to carve up a chicken or carve up somebody in the street. To blame Amazon, which is what Keir Starmer is attempting to do, is both futile and stupid. It's a blunt instrument, if you don't mind the pun. I laughed my duck off this morning when they started coming out with that rubbish. It's complete and utter rubbish. I thought at first that maybe the horrid monster who slaughtered those 3 innocent girls in Southport, the way they were talking, I thought he'd use a zombie knife. I understand why they want to ban zombie knives, although I'm old enough, I must tell you this. I wrote a play 30 odd years ago, right, where they used they were called Rambo knives. We had a Rambo knife in it as a plot. It didn't half cause trouble. We nearly got banned because of it. So we had an issue then where they wanted to ban them, and they went on to ban them. And in my 30-year radio career, I've done knife amnesties to death. Again, pardon the pun. The latest one being that big statue, which is really impressive. They put it outside Coventry Cathedral with all the knives that had been given in. When we used to do this in London, whenever there was a stabbing, which, let's face it, this was even before London became Stab City under Sadiq Khan, right? Even before then, we were getting knife stabbings and we're having knife amnesties. You could hand them in, you drop them in to a skip, no questions asked. It never solved it. There was always the conversation about banning them, not allowing people to sell them. But what Sir Keir was talking about today was buying a knife off Amazon. What the headlines in the Sun? It was a disgraceful headline on the front page of the Sun. 2 clicks to murder. It's nonsense. Because do you know what? It wasn't a zombie knife. It was a kitchen knife. A carving knife or whatever knife you'd have in the kitchen. So are we going to now start banning or have age restrictions or what age you can go into your mum's kitchen? It's just totally illogical. And Starmer's a clever bloke. He knows it's illogical. He's doing it to divert attention away from him and the rest of his cronies in the Crown Prosecution Service. Because I tell you what concerns me much more than whether Amazon are doing the right checks. Although I've got to say, every time I've bought liquor from Amazon, they always check on the front door that you're over 18. They even ask me for my identity, my age, the state of me. So I haven't had that problem. Maybe you have. But targeting Amazon and trying to divert the attention is pretty low when you're talking about the slaughter of 3 innocent girls, isn't it? He really has scraped the bottom of the barrel. This is the John Gaunt Show. If you want to join in, you can now. Nick Seeley's there. He says, buying a knife isn't the issue. Correct, Nick, on YouTube. That's really the basis of what I'm saying. But I want to get into why he's doing it. He wants to divert attention because clearly the Crown Prosecution Service are in this up to their neck. They're saying the story they're spinning is, oh, yeah, he was reported. He's been reported 3 times. I think it's 3 times to them, 10 times to the Prevent organisation, but nobody stopped this monster. He went to school with the carving knife or the knife from the kitchen, which he should have been banned from going in. He took the knife to school. Why wasn't he apprehended at that point? Prevent is the equivalent of a chocolate fire guard on an open fire. It'll be stuffed full of rainbow-laced ex-coppers and briefs. People like Starmer They'll all be mini Starmers. So busy worrying about their P's and Q's and their LGBTs and B whatever the rest of the alphabet is. They're not concentrating on the monsters who are living amongst us. I said this yesterday or the day before. It's the same when it's paedophiles. They say, oh, yeah, we've got a multi-agency approach. Don't worry that we've put them all on your council estate. We've got a multi-agency situation. Then when a paedophile on that estate abuses a kid, it's, oh, we were short-staffed. Oh, he slipped through the net. Oh, it'll never happen again. Oh, I'll tell you what, we'll have a public inquiry. And I'll go on camera and I'll almost cry and I'll bite my bottom lip. And I'll have the presentation skills of a brown paper bag. That's Keir Starmer. That's your supreme leader. What he's done the last couple of days has been an absolute disgrace. An absolute disgrace. Now he tries to divert attention, put it on them. We know the CPS have failed. The organisation, which, oh, there's a coincidence, he used to be the boss of. And you remember all those stories about, oh, he never prosecuted Jimmy Savile? And he said, no, hang on a minute. That never came across my desk. Jimmy Savile, the biggest name in show business. You didn't know it was going on. You didn't know that there was talk about prosecution. It's absolutely BS. So he ran the CPS. I bet the person who runs it now, it's probably a woman now, because they'll be so full of diversity, it'll be incredible. But what we need to find out is who is in charge, who made this ridiculous decision. I did see a woman who used to work for the CPS on TV this morning. She said, oh, it's just been a mistake. They obviously didn't refer it up. Well, they didn't refer this madman up that he'd taken a knife to school. They didn't refer it up the second time they arrested him, the third time they were informed, or prevent every time they... What's the point of having a prevent, right, if you don't act on what they say? That's like buying a packet of condoms and leaving them on the bedside table, isn't it? That's not prevention, which is what we want. I would much rather this guy had been apprehended, and if he was mad, I wanted him to get looked after and health. But if he was, obviously what he is, a mass murderer, I want him locked up. Well, more than that, I want him executed now. I'm definitely up for the death penalty for people like him, but I don't get diverted into that. I want to stay on this knife thing. So he had a domestic knife. Keir Starmer, I agree with the idea of carry a knife. I used to say it on the radio, have a knife, get 5 years straight away, or 10 years if you use it. No remand, no reprieve, no parole, no nothing, right? Because we've got to get kids to stop carrying knives. But this was a domestic knife. So, and if he didn't use a knife, knives don't kill people. People kill people. He could have gone and got a car and just driven through a shop window or into a bus stop as he shouts Allah Akbar or Ali Snapbar or what other crazy nonsense they come out with. Yeah. And then, of course, he could have, Mrs. A Flight of Fancy, he could have just made rice in his mum's kitchen, couldn't he, when she wasn't in, only using blunt instruments and wooden spoons so as not to hurt anyone. You think that's a bit far-fetched? Well, hang on, they found rice in his house 2 or 3 days at the most after he was arrested. Sir Keir Starmer didn't tell you this. Yvette Cooper didn't tell you this. And yesterday, he admitted he knew all along who the suspect was, who they'd even arrested. And he knew about the ricin. And he knew about the manual. See, that's the other thing today. Oh, we've got to clamp down on horrible videos on the internet. This is just another way of saying, we'll close down social media sites. We'll stop you. It's the technological equivalent of what the establishment has done to pubs. They hate pubs. Pubs are our churches, our places of congregation. With the smoking ban, which I actually agreed with, but now the price of beer, etc., and pubs closing down, it's so that we don't mix and we don't talk about things and we don't have dangerous ideas that we can talk about together. And that's what this thing on social media will be about. They won't ever be able to do it. It's rubbish. They'll never be able to ban knives. Every time you carve a turkey, before you do it. Show me your papers. Can you imagine what this would be like? They're talking today about when you go on Amazon, you'd have to have a video of them to show that it's you. I've just been in our local hardware store because I'm down at my daughter's. I had to buy some dog biscuits. And they've got a big sign up. They've always had it up saying, if you want to buy a knife, you've got to show identity. That's all right. That's the way it should be. Starmer is diverting attention away from his own failings, Yvette Cooper's failings, and their lies, their blatant lies, because they didn't say what they knew. And I say that left a vacuum. I'm not the only person saying it. The terrorism czar said it as well, which was then filled by a lot of hotheads. Also by a lot of people who were genuinely very upset that little girls in their community had been slaughtered. A lot of those people are now in prison. I don't think most of them should be. And I think he won't do this. He should or release them. What do you think? Let's take some views. Yeah, I'm only here for half an hour, so don't hang about. Dave Lucas, good to see you again, Mr. G. I do like what you have to say, as do many people, like-minded people. The politicians have forgotten that they're here to manage the country and not day-to-day lives. Yeah, they've forgotten they work for us. Denise Deacon, rather than blame Amazon, why not give a prison sentence to anyone caught with a knife? If that was in place, he wouldn't have been at large. Well, yeah, there is that. There's also why didn't his dad obviously stopped him going to school because he wanted to go and slaughter his classmates, evidently. But did he tell the police? And when he did tell the police, we don't know this. Keir Starmer probably knows. When they did tell the police, did Prevent come round and have a chat with him? The problem is Prevent will be stuffed full of uber liberals. You know the sort, Birkenstock open-toed sandals, eating tofu burgers. Oh, let's go to Catalonia for our holidays and go skinny dipping. Oh, can I read your Guardian after you? Oh, yes, of course you can. Can you spell? Like, it's those kinds of twits, spelled T-W-A-T-S, that are the problem. Some of these kids are away with, I'm not necessarily saying this one, but they could be put right with a good dose of hard love, tough love, dare I say, even old-fashioned national service. It'll be a unicorn running the CPS. Yeah, I heard that today. Yeah, I think it will be as well, my friend. These people think we're stupid, says slapping a bird's bottom. History says most revolutions started in the pub. You're right, in the pub or in the dance hall. You're absolutely right. Where ordinary people congregate and they can talk. And the internet, in my personal opinion, that's what it is now. That's what Facebook, that's what Twitter is at its best. You know, when somebody, like my friend, she's got 2 little dogs, and suddenly somebody on Facebook said, who's got a little black dog? It's running down the road. It was her dog. They'd got out the back gate. I don't know how. Somebody had forgotten to close it. But it was Facebook and social media. This is a trivial kind of example. They found the little dog before it got run over or squashed. That's brilliant. That is the community working together. But let me tell you, Keir Starmer and his ilk, and it's not just him, it's the whole of the political establishment. They don't want us to congregate. They don't want us to assemble. They don't want us to talk. They want to tell us how to think. It is George Orwell. This is what is happening. And he's the biggest authoritarian we've had in power for years. He's more authoritarian than Mrs. Thatcher. And I want to know, did the CPS, see, the chief constable, that woman who was on the telly all the time, who told people not to speculate, it's now coming out that she was told what was going on, obviously, because she was the chief constable. But she's alleging the Crown Prosecution Service told her to take it easy. There's other stories coming on that other police forces around the country where there's been instances like this. Don't mention the religion, don't mention the ethnic, etc., aspect of it. Now, this guy wasn't a Muslim, although there's some sort of rumours that he was when he went to prison, but he's from a Christian background. He's from Rwanda, isn't he? I don't know. What do you think about this? I just think it's crazy. Oh, just kick me microphone. It's crazy. Take some more calls. I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll get there eventually. Nick Seeley says, you've just mentioned pubs. I'll be going for a couple tonight. Support your local landlord. Well, thank you very much. I'd like comments about what I'm talking about, though, if possible, Nick. So I think if the CPS have told a chief constable not to do something, that's them definitely overstepping the mark. The whole idea of the CPS, I mean, my dad used to hate the idea because the police used to do the prosecutions. The CPS was meant to be the interim, the bit between, in the sandwich. But if they're overstepping the mark and now actually saying, well, this is what you do to coppers, I don't like that. I like the whole idea of coppers treating everybody the same, one law for all. But of course, I keep forgetting we're living in two-tier world, aren't we? And he is ex-CPS. So wouldn't he know? If he was the ex-gaffer, he must have spoken to the present person who's in charge of it. Did Keir Starmer say, whatever you do, look, we've got riots already. If you mention that this guy's a Rwandan, it's going to go up the flagpole. And if you mention the ricin and the terror manual, please don't do it. She says, the chief constable of Merseyside, she was told to left. I wanted to give the public more information. You see why this is serious is, if the public had been given more information, maybe the riots would not have happened, or certainly not on the scale that they happened. And is it fair, if you think about this again, he said he didn't want to damage the case. But it was okay 3 months later, to mention the ricin and the terror manual. It was okay to say, this is Keir Starmer. When the riots happened, these people are right-wing thugs. They hadn't even had a trial. Most of them didn't get a trial because they absolutely bricks it. They'd never been in trouble before. And so their duty solicitor would have said, you got no chance. They got you on video. You're best to cough for it. And then you'll get a lesser sentence. You'll get a third knocked off automatically. I think if that was me in that position, I'd probably say, yeah, okay then. And then I'm sent down for 3 years or 18 months. Okay, you're only going to do half of it. But you're a normal, decent member of society. I'm not talking about the people who are trying to burn down the hotels. But surely the people who said things on Facebook now, they should be released. Are you with me or against me? Get in touch via YouTube, please, or alternatively through Twitter, or on here now, live, whatever. If you're watching it on replay, or if you're listening to this as a podcast, get in touch with me, john@johngaunt.com. I am on Twitter and I am on Facebook. And if you want to help me out, and we got a few people helping yesterday, I've got a thing called buymeacoffee.com. www.buymeacoffee.com. If you fancy doing that, that would be really useful. I'm just going to put the address up for you now. Here it is. Very simple. And you can send me a $5. A $5 upwards would be very kind of you. Let's go back to your comments. Regan and Carter, why did we find out what was found in his house 3 months later on budget day? No mugshot until yesterday. None of that would have prejudiced the outcome of the court case. I agree with you completely, my friend. I'll tell you why, because they were keeping it quiet. Oh, good. I've got the comments to come up on the screen now. Andy George, when I watch PM questions on a Wednesday and I see the caliber of MPs, I despair. They couldn't hold a candle to the MPs of 30 years ago, who most people looked up to and trusted. We're doomed. Thank you, Andy. I think you might be right there, mate. I think you might. I watched it today. The leader of the opposition, Kemi, she said, oh, I want to talk about what you said yesterday, but I'm going to leave it for the moment. Let's talk about housing. What? We may have, some people are making allegations that our Prime Minister has deceived us, has not told us the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. He's kept things from us because he doesn't trust us. That's the allegation. He says it's poppycock, right? But you'd have thought the leader of the opposition today would have put him on the spot. No. Why? Because they're all self-serving pigs. They've all got their snouts in the trough, and they've all got an easy life. They haven't got the life that you and I have got. You'd think they'd think differently after David Amos, the MP, got killed. Or what about, of course, Joe Cox? I saw David Amos's daughter today on GB News. Tragic, what she was saying, and about how soft the CPS is and the rest of it. I've got to say, Mark White, who I used to know quite well when I did a lot of Sky News, what a great reporter. He's now on GB News. And along with Charlie Peters, they're just brilliant. And Andrew Pearce, who I don't really like, if I've met him a few times, I'm not that keen on him as a bloke, but blimey, he's been doing a good show on this subject because they know their politics. They've got him. Honestly, we've all got him, Starmer, banged to rights. He never told us the truth. He said that people were spreading fake news. You know, when people started saying, oh, it was a Muslim, it was this. Well, it obviously wasn't, and they were wrong. But not everything they said was fake news. And if we want to talk about fake news, let's talk about what you did, Keir. You didn't tell us that it wasn't a Muslim. That's not right either, is it? And so the riots fermented. And then we've had ordinary, decent people, never been in trouble with the police in their lives. They've gone to jail. That's wrong. So far, we've had several atrocities committed by second-generation immigrants. Ooh, here we go. This is the captain. Why nothing from the government on integration, vetting on those that come here, and all further safety measures? Captain, exactly. He would rather today slag off Amazon, right? Knowing full well he can do jack all to change Amazon, but it means people look that way while he's doing this way. Of course, we need to have the debate about certain cultures and not just therefore say we're never letting a Muslim in again, we're never letting this sort of person in again. But you've got to say, in some communities, the integration hasn't happened. And in some communities, I mean, it was at the, I think it's the Romas who have been barbecuing sheep in the street in Birmingham. Talking of which, there's been another savage knife stabbing today. I don't know much more detail about it. A 12-year-old boy. But how many times, not in that case, I'm not saying that, how many times do you, like the boy on the bus the other week in London, he was obviously in a gang as well. I don't think he deserved to die, but we need to ask, why is this happening? Is it to do with feckless fathers? Is it to do with a culture thing? Is it that the way they deal with a problem in that particular region or that particular country or that particular community they come from is by stabbing each other through the heart? I don't know. And it's not as if we don't have that in this country. And we've always had it, even before mass immigration. Let's think about, what's his name? The guy who used to slash people in Glasgow, Jimmy Boyle, who I've met quite a few times. He became a playwright and a sculptor, wrote a brilliant book about violence and about redemption. If you get the chance to read it, read it. But he slashed people. We've always had that in our society as well. So let's not make out it's a pure immigrant problem. And I don't think that is what you're doing, Captain. But I think you're right. The debate needs to happen. Why won't they have their debate? Our leaders. Well, it's like why they won't ever say when it's a white attacker, you know straight away, don't you? They don't hold back. And like when David Amos got killed and savage murdered and Joe Cox, you knew within about a few hours that it was a white supremacist and da-da-da-da-da. I've got no time for him either. He's horrid. Mayor, was that his name? Yeah. But if it's ever a person of colour, we have to wait, don't we? Or what about that one who was in the back of he was in the stolen car. Police apprehended him. They shot him, blew his brains out, and then the copper gets done. The copper could have lost his job. Thank God sense prevailed. And a jury of 12 good men and true. Hobbs was his name? Chris Hobbs, something like that? No, that's not his name, but you know what I mean. But people were so concerned. This guy had been exploiting his own community. And they obviously thought they could turn him into a Floyd, not Keith Floyd. That's where they got the knife from. Sorry, I shouldn't make jokes, but you understand where I'm coming from here, don't you? Now the inauguration is over with in America. Hopefully Musk will get stuck back into Starmer and showing his hypocrisy to the world. Yeah, perhaps. Lord Carbathan says, hi, everyone. There's him. He's up on the screen. Let me just find that one. I just had a great one a moment ago. Yeah, here it is. Denise Deacon. See what you think of this one, guys. Starmer and his ilk should all be hanging their heads in shame. However, he's fronting it out and blaming everybody else. Absolutely. That is exactly what is going on. Exactly what is going on. It's diversion tactics. and they won't have the real debate. The real debate. And if there's things we need to change in our society, let's change them. But after a debate, not a knee-jerk reaction. Knives don't kill people. People kill people. What else was I going to tell you about? Oh, yeah, now they're saying in the bedroom of this boy, who slaughtered these girls, there was loads of video nasties and executions and all this kind of stuff. And so now the next building, tomorrow's headlines will be about the internet and violence. And we've got to clamp down on Twitter, Facebook, X, whatever. And I'm just wondering if the mainstream, lamestream newspapers will go along with that again like they did today. Because there was no criticism. In 3 of the tabloids, I think it's the Mail, the Sun, and the Mirror, they're just laying it on Amazon. I think that's wrong. I think there's a lot wrong with Amazon, don't get me wrong. But why have they fallen for it? And then I watched a load of TV programs this morning. The government have set the agenda. So today's talking point, and they'll still be doing it by tonight, right, on the BBC, on Newsnight, and probably on the One Show. They'll have some pop singer on who's going to do a charity single. You know what I'm getting at. They've set the agenda. I thought the whole idea of the media, the fourth estate, I've always said, look, the relationship between a journalist or a social commentator or talk jock should be the same relationship that a dog has with a lamppost, i.e. it's our job to pee all over their grandiose plans and tell them to get a life and live in the real world. But it's not like that now. People are tuned around the radio stations. People were taking what Starmer said seriously. Is there a problem? And you got people ringing up saying, yeah, Amazon, where sometimes when they deliver, they don't wait to see it from there. They just leave it on the doorstep. Yeah, but not with a knife, because with a knife, you have to show the person who took it off you. So then you get all this mythology coming out, doing the government's job for you. You suddenly become a propaganda agent of Sir Keir Starmer. You become part of his Stasi. Be careful. Keep an open mind. Maybe you agree with him, maybe you don't, but just do not just immediately think that's the agenda. Let's talk about Amazon. Amazon are the villains. No, they're not. Especially when I've just told you the knife. I don't know. He did buy a knife from Amazon, but whether that was the actual knife that killed these kids, he had several knives with him. But regardless, it was a kitchen knife. I could probably now open a drawer here at my daughter's house. Well, I know she's got 3 very sharp knives in there. They're brilliant. She's got what they're called Sabatio or something like that. Yeah, they're vicious things. Great for veggies and for carving up the turkey or whatever. But are we going to ban them? Are you going to have a license to go in your kitchen? It's totally unworkable. Why won't he focus on why this happened? The failings of the CPS. He quite likes giving them a kick in. But what about his own failings? He was so Billy Big Boots, wasn't he, on the riots? They're all far right. They're fascists. They're racists. We're going to lock them up. We're going to lock them up. I'll give him his due. It worked because the riots stopped. But now he looks a bit of a prat, doesn't he? Because some of the things those people were saying were bang on the money. And what Nigel Farage said during that period, he was right. He said they're withholding information. And again, listening to Mark White today on GB News, he's been a crime correspondent and all that for years. He said, I've never really known a case where the judge says, you've wrecked this, so we can't have the trial. That would not have wrecked the trial. He hadn't been charged when people were saying, where's he from? What's his background? You see, and the newspapers, even at that point, were complicit in this. See, I don't think the newspapers want to run too many negative stories if it is the Muslim community. Now, he's not a Muslim, as it turns out. He wasn't at the time he committed the murders. See, but that's wrong, isn't it? Because the Muslims are getting the bad rap for it. Oh, and you, I see today with the rape gangs, there's another 8 Muslim guys up in court in Manchester. I couldn't believe what I was hearing on the telly about what they're accused of doing. We'll wait and see if they're guilty. We have got some cultural problems we need to address. I like that. Kevin Barnfield. Let me put this up on the screen so people can see what it means. One Keir Starmer. There's only one. Yeah, very good. Thank you. You get the prize. There is no prize, but well done. Sir doesn't care Stammerer feels himself untouchable because of the whip he lashes his party with and says whatever he deems necessary to allow his ideology to continue infecting this country. Well said, Mike. He was saying that today, my friend, in at Prime Minister's questions. Some other Labour politician Conservative politician, can't tell the difference now, can you? Made a point and he said, well, we just got a landslide victory. He thinks he's Donald Trump. People only voted for you, Sir Keir, on the whole, because you were the least worst option. And for that, I blame the Tories. Starmer made a career of making sure people like Hina and his family are allowed in the country. So, of course, it's Amazon's fault. Oh, you cynic. Absolute cynic. It's only a matter of time before you're asked to be a presenter on either GB News or Talk. Good luck, chum, says Andrew Lloyd. Andrew, no chance. Talk Radio or Talk TV, whatever it's called, is run by the man who sacked me when he was the programme person in charge of Talk Sport. He sacked me because I called a councillor who didn't want working class people who smoked to foster. I called him a Nazi, went all the way to the European Court, blah, blah, blah. He won't employ me because you got to remember radio executives, they've got a very, very thin skin. So he won't employ me, even though I would be brilliant on there. You're right. And GB News, well, I did a bit with them, but that's when I was really poorly as well. And I've probably blotted my copybook there as well. And I'm probably too old because all their presenters haven't even started shaving yet, even the women. No, that's not fair. I tell you what, some of the stuff they're doing at the moment, I've got to say, they're doing good stuff. They're doing good stuff. On the rape gangs and on this particular thing, they're doing good stuff. I don't know about Talk because I'm a bit precious. I don't watch that or listen to that. So there we go. Hina was a spell check error. What was it meant to be? Hina? Lord Kilbacken? Come back to me so I can hear it. Right, I'm going to stop. So unless you want to get in now, you better do it now. Otherwise, I'm going to turn myself off in a minute. Here we go. These two are quite good. You can see what his name is on the screen. I wonder if there could possibly be any correlation between the rising crime, mass uncontrolled immigration, and the decline of our quality of life in the UK. Oh, you cynic. And, of course, sarcasm is the lowest form of humour, although it's often the funniest. So well done. I noticed yesterday the blame was being shifted over to the internet. No doubt the far right will be the scapegoat again. Yeah, everyone is. I find it amazing how we've suddenly got so many far right people in the country. They're everywhere. Everywhere you turn, the far right. Huh? Coming over here, taking our women, taking over our beach. You know what I'm saying? Let's get back to this. I want to keep the pressure on Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer should have told us. There's no reason that it would have prejudiced the trial. That is absolute garbage, right? Absolutely. There is no reason why he couldn't have said, look, you stop saying he's a Muslim. He's not. He's not a new arrival. He did say he was born in Wales, but he didn't mention the other bits, did he? He could have said he's already on our radar. And also the worst thing, I remember at the very beginning, I was probably the only commentator. And at that time, I was only on Twitter and Facebook, so I was on nothing, wasn't I? I said, it is terror. It's terrorism. It is. And they were saying, no, it's not. No, it's not. You can't say that. You know, people getting locked up for saying it was terrorism. Now they're saying it is. But hold on a minute. It's a new form of terrorism. Is it in 1984 or is it in the other one? Animal Farm. I think it's in 1984. Doesn't Winston Smith get arrested? And he says, what am I getting arrested for? And he goes, this law. And he says, well, what is that law? And when did that come in? And the guy says, today. He said, but you've just said I did it 2 weeks ago. Yes, so I'm paraphrasing it, but that's what it's like, isn't it? There's a new form of terrorism. What a load of cobblers. Hi, how much more twisted evil? Don't swear on the comments if you can help it, because I just read it as it comes out, Mark. I'm not having a go at you. Evil, you know what, comes and is allowed to be said from this evil, vile, poor excuse of a human being. I presume you're talking about Mr. Starmer. Thank you, my friend. It's Starmer and his newspeak says, slapping the bottom of a lady. Thank you very much indeed. You can see his real name there. Right, so if you are listening on catch up, if you are listening to the podcast, why don't you try out the live shows? From next week, I'll start doing them at a regular time. I'm being out and about because I'm looking after my daughter's dog at the moment. That's why I'm down here and I haven't got my screen up and all the rest of it, and the lighting is not perfect. But it's the content that matters. Thanks for your nice words, your words of encouragement. Thank you very much indeed for all your opinions today. Keep them coming, and let's keep the pressure up. We've got to keep the pressure up on this man, because I think he's taking us for mugs. I think he really is taking us for mugs, and that's got to stop. That's got to stop. He's our supreme leader. I mean, also the BBC, I forgot to mention the BBC today. What are they been up to? They just parrot whatever he says. It's not about Amazon. So I'm just going to remind you, Mr. Starmer, knives don't kill people. People kill people. Get that into your brain. Thanks a lot, everyone. I'll speak to you very, very soon. You've been watching and listening to the John Gaunt podcast. I'm back and I'm available for weddings, bar mitzvahs, engagements. But if you just want to contribute a $5, go to www.buymeacoffee.com and do it there. Then you'll get your name on the bottom of the screen as well. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Speak to you soon. Until then, if you've got kids, please give them a kiss. Hold them tight. Give them a hug. And don't forget to tell them every day that you love them. Cheers. All the best.
You can have it all. Great pay, awesome benefits, a flexible schedule, the chance to grow. At Cox, we're recruiting auto and diesel technicians to join our Mannheim and Fleet Services teams. If you're ready for a new job and want to experience an award-winning workplace, drive your career forward with us. Visit cox.career/autotech to learn more. That's cox.career/autotech.